Thanks for joining us for a bonus episode of Beyond the Stage. My name is Ruth Eggerman. I'm the Director of Marketing at Livermore Valley Arts, and I'm here with our host and Executive Director, Chris Carter.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
And today's bonus episode includes a new conversation with Kari Byron, who was here back in September to talk about, her books and her stuff. She was part of our Ray DeRose speaker series. And today we wanted to bring her back to talk a little bit more about her National STEM Challenge that's going on right now and the STEM Festival that will be taking place in April in Washington, D.C. So enjoy this little interview. It's always fun to talk to her. She's just really fun to talk to, and she's had a really diverse background both in arts and sciences, so it's a fun conversation. Please enjoy the interview with Kari Byron.
There she
Hi.
is.
Hi,
Oh, is
guys.
that your house?
I have a little studio. This is my studio.
I love it.
It's not like your office?
It's office for someone like me, studio, all the things. It's all the same thing.
Right on. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I spent the weekend in Livermore. I went Saturday to the Lawrence Livermore Labs and got to see all of their cool stuff there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
A
that's
little personal tour.
Who gave you the tour?
Well, they had an open house for like friends and family for people who work there, and they do it like every 10 years. So I got to meet all the scientists and people doing crazy things and got to see where they do their high explosives lab. And
Yeah.
it's so cool. So
Did
cool.
you see the NIF, the big ignition facility?
That was one of the tours. I had to leave to get my kid to a soccer game, and I was bummed, but they sent me a bunch of video.
Awesome. Well, welcome back to Livermore then. Thanks, Kari.
I feel like I'm
called
gonna
us.
move there, so that I'm getting to Livermore a lot lately. I feel
Yeah.
yeah, part of the community soon.
It's got some sort of charm that just pulls you in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a little bit weird.
It's the people. It's the people.
Right.
Agreed.
Well, we appreciate you taking some time, Kari, and we were really pleased to have you at the Bankhead a couple of weeks ago. I was just telling Ruth, I've gotten a lot of compliments on that night.
Yeah,
people really enjoyed it. So you did a fantastic job.
Thank you. I'm sorry the recording didn't work out.
Yeah, us too. But we're glad to see you again.
We were just getting all of Chris's high school tchotchkes that are sitting on his desk. He was showing us pictures. I was showing us like some giant stein.
Right.
Oh wow! Whoa! Right on.
I think this is my dad gave me a box like a couple of years ago, and this was in it, and so I just threw it on my desk. And then this is the other one. They're only two tchotchkes, so this is the other one they have.
Oh, nice.
That's like two more than I keep.
Right?
Yeah, I've never seen that. I don't even know what that is.
It's like I don't know why I got it. It's like a class mug.
Yeah.
So.
I don't have one of those.
Who knew they even had those, right?
I don't know where I got that.
It's really funny is I just pulled up a video and sent it to the high school girlfriends. There's this thing called it's like Bay Area nostalgia, and it was a news report from when we had a 21 Jump Street.
I saw that too. My sister sent me that.
Bunch of kids got busted for selling and buying weed at Los Gatos High School in the mid-90s from kids from San Jose.
Right, and there was an undercover cop that was posed as a student on the campus.
Oh my goodness. That was hilarious.
Well, you weren't involved in that, were you?
No, I think we were too old. I think it was the freshman class when we were either seniors or just graduated. Yeah,
I think that was right after us. We missed out on all the fun things, I guess. We talked about a little bit at the Bankhead was that you're not a scientist, first of all, right? What's your background for the audience?
So my background is more as an artist. I'm a curious person. So, I always made art as a kid, and it's just always been a constant in my life. but I wanted to make a living as a sculptor. And I was showing, and places like 111 Minna and galleries in San Francisco, but I really wanted to actually be a sculptor. So I had a friend that was touring M5 Industries, which is Jamie Heinemann's shop, and they did special effects. And I thought being a model maker would be the perfect combination of both having a job and being a sculptor. I wanted to make the monsters. I wanted to make, blood squirt out of faces and stuff. I've always been very Halloween forward. So I went into Jamie's shop with a portfolio that I made the day before, because it was sort of a like, hey, come check this place out. And I walked in and wanted to be a part of it so bad. I mean, like, just the smell of the wood shop is enough to just pull you in, and seeing a whole wall of organized boxes that say things like googly eyes and, and tracks, and it was so cool. I let Jamie kind of thumb through my portfolio, and he seemed pretty unimpressed, I gotta admit. But he found one page. He's like, oh yeah, that'll work. And I offered to work for free as an intern, and let him teach me how to be a special effects artist. And Jamie cannot resist free. He's very thrifty, and so he let me come be a part of the shop. And so I was basically in the background of MythBusters.
Yeah.
I, as an artist trying to learn the arts, I was helping do toy prototyping for toys like Leapfrog toys, which was really cool because I'd sculpt a handle on a Leapfrog toy, and then I'd actually see it in the stores later. My exact sculpture would be on these toys. And I just thought it was the coolest job ever, until they started filming MythBusters at the shop, which suddenly I became a part of too.
They just sucked you right into the show then eventually, right?
Yeah, I started out as a background builder and helping clean up.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't making the episodes fast enough, so they started having me explain what I was building, and then they just said, "Hey, you're a host now. Go. You're part." Yeah.
I have a question for you. Going back to your sculpture, what medium were you working in when you were trying to be a sculpture artist? Like what, and not a special effects artist, but a sculpturist.
So in college, because I went to West Valley and then San Francisco State, I worked in bronze. I worked with found objects. I made a giant chair with huge wings that were like furry and soft, that would wrap around you into a cocoon. So like just all kinds of weird things like that. But mostly I really liked polymer clays, because you didn't need a kiln, and you could use them in really, really low temperatures. So I made a lot of sculptures like this, like creepy little doll like sculptures. And that kind of applied really well to special effects, because they use that kind of clay a lot in all of their positives for their molding.
Do you still sculpt? Do you still do artwork?
Yeah, I do two kinds of artwork. I still sculpt with those clays, but I also do black powder art. So I really like igniting the black powder, which leaves this sort of detritus of dark, spotty, spirally kind of looking, it almost looks like space pictures. And then I play with the negative and positive space, and it's kind of containing chaos in a small region. And it's something that you can't plan for. It's not like you can think, I want to paint a picture of an apple and it looks like an apple. It doesn't behave like that, which is why I like touring places like
Does its thing.
the
Well,
Livermore Labs,
Do you have
because
any
they like
examples of-
explosions too.
Do you have any examples of that in your studio?
Do I? Yes. So still working on this, but so
oh,
Super
I do that.
cool.
I also, if you follow
you
me
do
on
that-
medias, you can see I try to contain the explosions in ways that create the picture that I kind of want to see. I also use clays to create negative space to make like skulls or skeletons or that sort of thing, kind of inside of the explosions.
well, I don't know if you remember from the banquet, but our lobby, and we have a founder's room that serves as an art gallery space. So if you ever wanted to exhibit anything, I
Ooh,
that
think
would be
we'd
so
be open to that.
Actually, I'm
Okay.
sitting in it right now. So behind, we have a California landscapes exhibit going on. And so this work is by George Stale behind me and all
absolutely.
around me. So
That is
it'd be super
cool.
cool to have your stuff here too.
If you're interested, let us know. We can figure something out. All right, cool. We'll schedule it then.
Yeah, my off time from being the director of the National STEM Festival, which is taking up a lot of my time right
Yeah,
now.
let's talk about that. This is the STEM challenge is going on right now, and you're taking it's kind of like a giant science fair, right?
Yeah, so I've been a part of a lot of really big science fairs over the years. My favorite one was when I was at the White House and I hosted with Bill Nye for the National Science Fair. This was during my MythBuster days, and the President of the United States did a press conference and said, "Oh, we've got a woman named Kari Byron here. She likes to blow stuff up. Where are you, Kari Byron?" And I just had this moment where I'm like, "What? The president knows who I am?" Apparently, he watched. He watched with his daughters. So MythBusters actually did an episode with President Obama at the time. And what I really liked from that festival or that fair was that I met kids doing things that were so incredible and had such creativity. And it was the boundless creativity that you have when you don't understand any of the obstacles yet. So you work backwards. You find a problem and then you engineer it backwards. And it was just how we do things on MythBusters, which is, we use the narrative vehicle of the scientific method to come to a conclusion about a curiosity that we had, and that's what the kids were doing. And I really wanted it to happen again, and it hasn't happened since then because the administration's changed, and then COVID, and they just haven't had a maker fair or a festival in so long that I decided that I was going to advocate for the revival of all of that scientific inspiration for kids. So I offered to build from scratch the National STEM Festival, which is huge. We're taking submissions from every state, the territories, the DoD schools, the BIE schools. We're going to fly 4 kids in from each of those places into Washington, D.C., champions of the challenge, for the National STEM Festival, which is going to be a whole weekend where all of DC is going to just celebrate STEM. There's going to be stuff from the front lawn to the Kennedy Center to the Smithsonian. There's going to be all sorts of incredible festivities for kids. Kids have to go to nationalstemchallenge.com if they want to submit. They create a 3-slide PDF, which Canva has lovely donated templates for us to use. And you have to basically ideate a project that tackles a real world challenge that'll have a positive impact on your community, its people, or the planet under 6 themes, which are environmental stewardship, future foods, health and medicine, powering the planet, and space innovation. I feel like Livermore kids are especially
There might be a
were
few,
born and bred for this.
Yeah.
right?
So I was
Have you
thinking, I
have you been
was,
getting
sorry.
submissions yet? Have you already started getting them?
Yes, I keep a little leaderboard. Right now, Mississippi has the top amount of submissions, followed by Hawaii and then Pennsylvania, and California is 4th.
Ooh,
4th. All
Right?
right, we got to get on it.
those are
Right. So I
interesting
am
states to have
right.
top submissions from, especially like Mississippi and Hawaii.
I
Yeah,
can't even
That's very
spell
interesting.
Mississippi.
Yeah.
That's why I'm kind of evangelizing with you
MISSISSIPPI.
guys and all of the local press right now. I was last week I was on Channel 7 and I'm talking with as many local press as I can, because if California's not leading, I feel like personally like the rivalry is so strong that personally I feel like I failed if I can't get enough California kids to take the top spot.
Let's do it.
So I was thinking about this morning, was like, you'll see articles in the newspaper about kids who have, invented these things that I can't even imagine, like fulfilling needs that I didn't know needed to be filled. Right. And so I'm super excited to see what comes out of this. Have you seen anything yet? Are you looking at this stuff yet? That you're just like, wow, this is just beyond my comprehension.
Well, until the submissions deadline closed, which it's the window is now, submissions closed November 12th. I'm not seeing the projects yet
Okay,
because they're all getting scored from volunteer reviewers, which we've places like Livermore Labs and JPL. They're giving us their STEM industry thought leaders to help review and score each of the kids' projects, so they get some real feedback. But I can tell you from science fairs past, it isn't just the genius kids in all the AP classes that are coming up with these projects. It is creativity is more important than anything else. So kids are really looking at their own communities and finding issues that they can solve for. There's a class in the Bronx who I know that they're working on this right now, who's creating a vertical farming system in their classroom because they are in a big city,
right,
but they're also in a food desert, and fresh vegetables aren't easy to get. And so all of the fresh vegetables these kids get from the classroom, they're not only feeding their class, but they're taking home and they're feeding their families in the community. So this is something that would work for future foods or space innovation, because really solving for growing food in places that are difficult, like deserts or inner cities, also could work for growing food on a space station. So vertical farming is something that I thought was a really interesting solve for an issue that's creating a positive impact in their community.
that's awesome. That's really
Why
awesome.
can't that's so you were just talking and it's just like I wish we would spend more time just trying to solve problems than make problems. And I'm I'm so glad you're doing this, Carrie. Um, thank you for inspiring a lot of people. Did you do you have any science fair projects that you remember you did as a growing up?
Yeah, I mean, the kids now have the internet and inspiration from a community of kids trying to solve problems. The problem I tried to solve, I think, my fourth grade science fair project was the one I remember the most, because I tried to grow plants in coffee because my mom would be like, you know, ugh, I can't function without my coffee. So I wanted to see if it actually improved the lives of my plants. So I grew some in dirt and some in coffee, and some that were in dirt watered with coffee, and they grew bigger and faster.
With the
Actually,
Oh,
coffee?
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
it was crazy. But they also died first. So I don't know how to. I did not take my data any further. So
Somebody should run with that. Figure that
I
out. Maybe there's
Well,
just
they
like a
use,
perfect amount of coffee.
yeah, coffee grounds are used to create compost and dirt. And so that doesn't seem so far-fetched that they would be really good for the plants. So not that I
Yeah,
use it
I
for
think
that.
kids are coming up with they're coming up with projects that will help their actual communities. This really was just our themes weren't quite as I don't know, directed.
Yeah.
So now when will you guys announce the the winners who will be coming to Washington, DC?
So all the champions will be chosen somewhere around February,
Okay.
and then we're going to fly them out there. We want to try to take down the barriers of just kids who can afford to be there. So we're getting sponsorship from corporations and stuff that are going to fly the kids in. They're going to put them up in the hotels. Their transportation is covered. They're going to be just brought in, so that you don't really have to worry about that part. Airlines are we have an airline sponsor giving us vouchers to make sure that that we can keep our costs down so that kids all can come. I'm building this from scratch with my partner, Ginny Bukos.
Yeah.
We have a streaming platform that has short format videos that come with curriculum for the classroom. And so it is teens and tweens that our platform is aimed at. So we're also creating content to go with the National STEM Festival, so that these kids projects that are really inspiring can become communal. So a kid in Alaska that has a good idea can, you know, kind of amplify what they're doing, and maybe a kid in Kansas is inspired by it, and then they'll do their science fair project based on that.
Are you
Um,
still looking for volunteers to help score?
Because we are definitely looking for STEM field and STEM adjacent field uh, industry leaders. So I mean, you don't have to just be a scientist. I mean, teachers, museum people who run like the museum education uh, advocacy. Like it's really anybody in any kind of STEM field.
And is all that on the name of your organization is Explore, right?
Yes, but to find stuff for the National STEM Challenge, it's nationalstemchallenge.com. You can see all the
Okay.
details. And we also have which is kind of fun for our social media campaign. We have 24 STEM ambassadors. Starting to use STEM like Smurf, like that's STEMmy. So our STEM ambassadors are people who are already have an audience on social media that they are thought leaders in their fields. So we have a woman named Danielle Boyer who she used to be somebody who she's a maker that created stuff for science fairs, and she has a small robot that sits on, it's the shape of an owl, and it sits on her shoulder, and it translates the world around into her dying indigenous language so that she can still feel connected to the place that she came from. It's a lot of really interesting people out there that are helping propel and promote this festival. We have astronauts and people working in space programs. Hillary Coe is another really awesome ambassador. She is somebody working in the space field and already has a huge following. So I thought, why don't we engage with the people that are doing what we want to do, who are role models, and create as much I think representation matters. So I want the faces of all of our STEM ambassadors to have, I want the kids to be able to see themselves in them. So we're trying to find people from all over the place, from West Virginia to Los Angeles.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about, so we're an arts organization, and you're an artist, and but you kind of function in the world of science, and this is probably good for kids that are thinking about this project as well, but kind of the intersection of art and science and how they come together. What
I mean,
are your thoughts on that?
I always thought art and science are basically the same thing. Well, not always. Once I was on MythBusters, because I was an artist doing arty things, and when science started to feel like art to me, because you're getting your hands dirty and fostering a curiosity, suddenly I was like, "Whoa, I do science, and I'm a STEM communicator because I'm putting this out into the world." And scientific method is just something that can be applied to art as well. You're just trying to come up with answers to a question. So I think that it's something that used to be thought of more as holding hands rather than mutually exclusive. I think that they'd show beautiful works of arts in the parlor at the same time as Tesla coils. So I think that it's something that we have pigeonholed into different slots, but really are in the same vein. So anything from the cool kinetic art sculptures that you see, like the big beach walkers in Scandinavian countries, to people who actually go out to Burning Man, to so many of my science friends are actually artists. I think it's a really interesting intersection.
Well, that artwork that's behind Ruth is from a scientist from the lab,
Oh,
right?
really?
So yeah, maybe they're using the same parts of the brain. I don't know. Well, and you mentioned the scientific method, and I know in your book, Crash Test Girl, you talk about using the scientific method as kind of a guide for life, right? And that's to help you make, decisions. Can you explain that a little bit more?
I mean, it's really, it really just gave me sort of a function for the book to have a framework just the way every MythBusters episode did. I mean, it's just the scientific method was the perfect narrative for busting myths. It also became just a really great way of critical thinking. And so I really like the idea of using critical thinking to solve any of your problems. And I think that the three things that we need to teach kids the most are critical thinking, empathy, and confidence. And if you can get that into them, they can tackle anything in the world. Because those are really, really, really hard to teach, but I think that that's something that we need to concentrate on.
Who does that really well?
Who does that really
Yeah,
well? I mean, MythBusters did that really well.
yeah.
I've met a lot of teachers who do that really well, because it's really hard to explain something to a kid that's really big and grand, like the Syrian refugee crisis. How do you explain that to a 12-year-old so that they feel that? So to explain something grand like that, we said, don't explain the refugee crisis, explain and show the story of one kid. one family going through this. So we profiled a family who went from Syria to Germany and ended up becoming part of a community in Berlin. They went from a refugee camp to becoming successfully integrated into the Berlin society while keeping all of their traditions. And it was a really harrowing journey for this family to get their kids out. And it was a hard interview for me to do because I have a daughter that was the same age as their daughter. But when I came home and I was able to show the video to my daughter, she saw the little girl and she said, wow, I play Roblox and she plays Roblox. And all of a sudden this switch kind of went on in her head where she felt the empathy and she felt the story. And she said, that could be me. And then she went and told her friends about it and their friends about it. And then they showed the video in the classroom. And then I had parents calling me saying, my kid knows more about this than I do. And it's using that digital storytelling as a method for helping explain kids things in a real world relevant and relatable way that they understand how what they're learning applies to them. That's why I think I took MythBusters and I ran with it to create this platform with my partner Ginny Bukos, because I think that there's such a power in video. I mean, we all saw Sesame Street growing up and Mr. Rogers, and then there's kind of nothing for teens and tweens that stays within
Yeah.
that mode of educational inspiration. And we want to fill that critical gap. So that's why I've become so passionate about what we do now, which is communicating and advocating for everything from social emotional learning to STEM through digital storytelling.
Well, and that's the greatest way to move somebody, right? Is through a story. And even more so than data and everything else, the story gets you moving. And MythBusters, was able to tell a lot of great stories. And I think you guys did provide that that filled that gap for those older kids quite a bit with that show. And you're still doing that. So I think you found a great niche. Are you ready?
You remember our game, yeah?
You remember our
I do
game?
remember your game. Do you have new questions for me?
We were talking about that, and I was trying to come up with a couple of new ones. I did see you were I saw you on a commercial recently. It was
Tide.
yeah.
That was so fun to film.
Was it really?
It was because I got to hang out with Tori again, and it
Yeah.
really was just like a day of kids throwing food at each other, and they were stoked. They're like, "What's my job today? What?"
Does your daughter get
this
to
commercial and see?
Oh, you got to see it. Does your daughter get to go to the sets with you sometimes? Do you kind of?
It depends.
Is that what they're?
It really depends. I've got some shows that are really fun to bring her to, but then some that are just grueling. So I don't bring her to the road shows generally because she also has to go to school. But I brought her along on. I did a show called Crash Test World where we look for the solution seekers and the innovators out in the world, and we profile them, looking for real world solvable problems. And one was about eating bugs. And in the Bay Area, there is this woman who runs a company called Don Bagito. And you might have seen their food trucks where they have roasted crickets and mealworms and all sorts of edible bugs that are incredibly sustainable, highly superfood protein sources. And so like these chili lime crickets could be sprinkled on a taco, or mealworm toffee. And I just thought this would be a great one to bring my daughter to because she could see mom eat bugs.
Did you do it? You ate the bugs?
Oh yeah, they were delicious.
Yeah, I've had crickets before too at a Mexican restaurant in San Jose, and I don't know if it's still there anymore, but they would serve crickets as part of their appetizer. And it was fascinating and fun to eat because they
Was
were
it
good.
with the shell? I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, you just roast them, and then
Yeah.
it's kind of like eating puffed rice. They're crunchy, and it's how tofu doesn't have a strong flavor, but what you add to it makes the flavor. So
Yeah.
it's really just the texture of crunch, and then they chili lime it up and roast them. So it's not like you can feel the little legs or anything. Like if you don't look at what you're eating, you wouldn't even know that it was bugs. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like crickets are like level 1 bug eating. And when we think about this planet and how we're going to continue to feed this planet. We can't keep clear cutting forests so that we can grow more cattle. We need
Yeah.
what we protein sources. And in 70% of countries, insects are part of the diet. So it's really, I like to think of it as how when you and I were kids, Chris, like sushi, people didn't eat sushi. That was weird. You're gonna eat raw fish? Ew. But now sushi is a delicacy that everybody eats. And I think bugs will slowly have that journey where we realize how fast and with how little water you can grow crickets and mealworms to create a protein source. I mean, I think it could be revolutionary.
Wow. Well, I always think about like shrimp and crab. Those are like bugs of the sea. It's for me. But what's level 10? You said crickets are level 1. Like, what
That's
would
what I
be?
was going to ask too.
Well, I mean,
What's level
the
10?
mealworm toffee that I was eating, it looked a lot more like bugs. It didn't look like puffed rice. So you kind of have to get over the visual till your brain knows that it's something you should be eating. Because I mean, if you've been dared to eat a worm as a kid, you probably have some trauma there.
So, do you have like a jar of crickets in your pantry right now? Is that
I don't have a jar of crickets, but I do have cricket flour to make chocolate chirp cookies
chocolate what?
Chocolate chirp.
because they're crickets.
You'll have to share your recipe.
It sounds delicious.
Yeah, I mean it's a very it's a very gluten-free kind of way to make
Yeah.
cookies. But the one thing I will give a warning is that if you're going to feed children and trick them into eating it before you tell them what it is, you have to make sure that they're not allergic to shellfish because they do have the same sort of components as shellfish. So if a kid's
Oh,
allergic to that, they can't eat the crickets.
well, that's a shellfish thing to do to them. So you got to be careful.
Ah.
Winner! Winner! God, I like you so much more when you throw in some dad puns.
It's a disease.
You
It
could
is.
come work.
It's a real
You could come
sickness.
work for us and spend a day with us, then Carrie, and see what that's like all day long.
That's all I contribute when we have our staff meetings. That's all I say is stupid jokes. I don't move anything along at all.
Yeah, we need you too. We need that.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that.
It's an important part of the meeting.
Okay, well, let's do the game. So I'm going to say answer crickets then.
Crickets.
Crickets. All right. San Francisco Giants or Oakland A's?
Giants.
Giants. All right. Fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
Tide or all-purpose cheer?
Clearly tied.
Hi.
I'm under contract to say that. No, I'm kidding.
All right. The Bay Area or Los Angeles?
Bay Area.
Okay, good
Ooh.
choice.
Warriors.
Warriors. I was going to say Warriors or obviously you're a Warriors fan, right?
Oh my God, such a Warriors fan.
Curry or Green?
I love Curry so much.
Curry.
Yeah.
Are they
I
going to
recently met Moody's dad though, so up and comer.
Oh yeah. Are they going to be good this year, you think?
I hope so.
I hope so too. What else?
I'm a Bulls fan, so I'm not participating in this conversation.
Yeah. Do you like being behind the camera or in front of the camera?
Gosh, and I can't say both. In front of the camera is really fun. I do like being in front of the camera.
You're kind of a ham. I get a sense.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
also I feel like I have stepped behind the camera a lot more lately, and because I've been in front of the camera, I have a different skill set so that I can look at my presenter and know when they're tired, when they need a break, when they're not paying attention. Like I can really I have a guidance
Yeah.
that is something that I think you can only do if you've been in those shoes.
Yeah, for sure. Can I ask, do you listen to a lot of music, Carrie?
Yeah.
What do you like to listen to?
It changes due to who I am with. With my daughter lately, she's listening to a lot of Frank Ocean and Kendrick Lamar. My old time faves when I was young that it still play are like the Pixies. I just went to a metal concert to see Iron Maiden and AC/DC. I really kind of run the gamut. Drive-by
Wow.
truckers have lyrics that make me just want to float. It's all kinds of music.
Okay, Iron Maiden or AC/DC?
From the performance I just went to, AC/DC killed it.
They did. Where was that at?
It was down in Palm Springs. There was a whole weekend of just a huge metal fest. I went from Washington, D.C., where I presented to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce wearing dresses that I thought could fit in really well on the show Scandal. Like, kind of, I look a little like a fancy secretary. And then in that same suitcase, I had fingerless gloves and like my cutoffs, and went straight to the desert to like hang out with, us people who flew in from Sweden to watch all of the metal. Yeah.
Nice. I'll tell you a story. My uncle was in a heavy metal band for a long time. It's toured all around the world. He was a drummer, and his bass player eventually became the bass player for Metallica. His name was Jason Newsted, and my grandmother kind of raised him. And so he would invite my grandmother to all these Metallica concerts. And so my grandmother, who's now 93, almost 94, is a huge Metallica fan. Yeah, she was a metalhead for a long time.
Metallica was at Metallica.
That's awesome.
They were there too. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's the Bay Area. They're from here.
Bay Area band. I'm going to ask you one last time: Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Good. These other ones I've already asked you before, but we could. What was the one, Ruth, you wanted me to ask? The
trebuchet or the catapult?
Yeah. Trebuchet's more fun, I think.
Yeah.
But have you ever seen a centrifugal force launcher? Those things are cool because they wind up and they go, and then everything shakes, and it's just exciting.
Where can you see one of those in the Bay Area?
There's a lot of people that do them for like pumpkin chugging.
I was going to say, what did they launch? The pumpkins?
Pumpkins during this time of year because after Halloween, there's a lot of pumpkins still, and they launch really well.
Do you dress up for Halloween still?
I have every year. I'm kind of unprepared right now because I've been working so like around the clock 7 days a week, and I feel like but luckily I've got a lot of costumes that are in boxes, and I can do undead anything. I have latex and appliances, and I have a gallon of fake blood that I know is in my garage right now, and I believe I accidentally put it in a container that let it decay, and there is dripping blood happening that I realize in the back of my garage that I'm going to have to clean up. But if you just came over to, like, say somebody had to come over to repair something and just saw
they would see the fake
cardboard box dripping blood onto the garage floor, I think I might throw some alarm bells off.
You might get in trouble. They'd call the police. What's the best Halloween costume you've ever worn, you think? What's your favorite?
It's tough. I do a lot of San Francisco themes once, so I went as Carl the Fog with a big Golden Gate bridge on my head that lit up in the fog because I used a lot of cotton. And that one people loved. But last year I did one that was so obscure that only one person figured out what it was because it's very specific. First of all, the twins that used to walk around in San Francisco wearing all of them. Like the leopard cowboy hats, but they were famous specifically in San Francisco. I was them crossed over with the old cult classic basket case. So I made one of the twins in a basket that I held on the side, but I made it so I had a fake arm holding it, and then my arm could come out and grab children, and it, like, one of the twins was a little scary and cannibalistic. So it was a very specific crossover costume that you would have to be old enough to have both seen Basket Case and live in the Bay Area and know who the twins were.
I would not have figured that one out. I would have known the twins.
But why would one of them be creepy in a basket with a monster hand, you see?
I did a costume like that once when I was a teenager. I remember the movie Aliens. I made a sock puppet, like an alien sock puppet. And I had like a fake arm, And then the sock
so
puppet came
cool.
out my chest with my real hand. And people thought that was the fake thing. And then I'd go like this and I'd
Yeah.
scare the crap out of people.
My
That,
daughter and I were a quartet of zombie clowns where, you know, you've got a clown riding on the shoulder of another clown, but I had taken the impression of her teeth from when she got braces because they were tiny little messed up teeth, and then I made a mold of those and then created a rip in her jaw with her actual teeth so that it looked like her face got torn open. And I had this moment where she just came home from school and she's like, "Mommy, I made a first grader cry." That's my baby. And that Halloween, like one of the families we were with said, "My children are a little scared of your costumes, so we're gonna have to split off."
but they know you're the
Uh-oh.
one from MythBusters. Like they should expect.
I
Yeah.
I level it was pretty high level at that point, and my daughter and I were very proud of everywhere we went. People were like, "Whoa!" I'm like, "That's my baby."
Nice. Maybe is she going to grow up to be an artist like you think?
She's really into film.
Yeah.
So that's kind of her art right now is she just started film class, and it's the one thing that she talks about the most. And I hope, you know, maybe she can come work with me someday.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Kari. Thanks for playing the game, and thanks for joining us again. We really appreciate it. You are off the hook. We are going to promote the National STEM Challenge for you, and hopefully get some more California kids out there to participate. Wish you the best of luck in everything.
I'll see you at the 40-year class reunion someday, I guess.
40-year. I missed the last one. Did you
And we missed the
go?
last one. I think that's the next one. That's the next one. So I'll see you there. And
Okay.
I love Livermore, by the way. So mwah, all of you
Give
guys
All
are
right.
so
you want to
welcoming.
do one more plug for the National STEM Challenge and Festival and everything?
Absolutely. Go to the nationalstemchallenge.com for all the details about the National STEM Challenge, and the champions will go to the National STEM Festival in Washington, D.C. in April. So it's going to be extremely exciting. And you can also find us on all the social media channels. Just put in National STEM Challenge or Festival. It'll pop right up.
Great.
Great. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Well, that was a fun interview with Kari Byron. She had a
Yes,
lot to say.
she did. She's got a lot of great energy.
Yeah, she really does. She's really fun to talk to, and her energy is infectious. And we got to hear a little bit more about the National STEM Challenge today than we did when she was here back in September. And it was really fun. And we just need to get some more California kids. And I think we have a champion that can come from Livermore,
There's some
Tri-Valley.
really smart Tri-Valley kids.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Innovation Tri-Valley does that Dream Makers and Risk Takers awards for high school students. And there's robot teams, there's kids working on diseases and things like that. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Here. So
There,
maybe we should connect ITV with the STEM Challenge and give them a heads
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, absolutely. That was, and they're so much smarter and more creative than I ever remember being when I was that age, or any of my friends being when I was that age. It's really fascinating to see how access to the world, you know,
Yeah.
with the internet has opened up so much for them to really explore and to find solutions to the problems that sort of plague us all. So
Yeah.
very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of this, and you know, seeing what kids from the Tri-Valley make it all the way to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So
And you're gonna snack on some crickets later today? Is that what you
yeah, I'm
told
thinking
me?
about having some crickets for lunch if I can find a restaurant. And I don't keep them in my freezer or have cricket flour at home. But I'm willing to try. I'm willing to try her chocolate chip cookies. So I hope she does share the recipe. I do want to thank everybody for joining us for this bonus episode of Beyond the Stage featuring Kari Byron. Please check out the National STEM Challenge at nationalstemchallenge.com and see if you want to enter. You can also find out information about becoming a adjudicator for it as well, if that's more your speed. So thanks again for joining us, and come check us out again.
Bye.
Bye.